Hey everybody, so another day of dev videos, and I'm not going to get directly into working on ICBM just right now, as I actually haven't slept today, so we're only going to do a quick video, and then hopefully by the time I get up we can do another one. Now, really quickly, ignore who created the tweet because it has nothing to do with them. I saw this video and I had a really stupid idea, and I couldn't find my retweet of this because I put some commentary into the retweet. But I was looking at this like, hey, this would make a perfect power generator because you have this villager going around, zombies moving around. I'm like, you know what? What if there was pressure plates below those zombies? And what if every time the zombies stepped on the pressure plate, it generated power? That would actually probably make a decent amount of power, and theoretically it's infinite because as long as the villager keeps moving, their zombies will never get to him. And even if they did, we could potentially make a safety net for it. I don't know. But what we're going to do in this video is we're going to make a power plate or pressure plate power generator. And this can be used for anything, so anything that'll step on it, anything that activate it will generate power. So you could create an advanced system theoretically of just shooting items out in doing power. So there's a lot of different things you could do to make this function. Um, we'll toy around with this concept a lot. Now right now I'm going to throw this into the power and wires mod. It probably won't stay here. I probably won't make it craftable right away just for that reason, because I may throw it out into its own little mod. Now, right now we are going to use the node system, so this means it will be dependent on Volt's engine unless I recode it as a single blocks mod. If I do that, then it'll probably be an RF tile, because that's the easiest power API to work with. Now for this, I was digging through the pressure plate code. We have a few options of kind of how we can work on this. They use kind of collision box system, so when you collide with the block, it then does whatever its thing is supposed to do. Its code's not exactly humanly readable. So we got like a function A behavior going here. Function A, I think function A is what actually does the step sound. Yeah, random click. It's got some flags, like a P5 flag, which I believe is the metadata. And I1 flag, which, yeah, I wish these functions were named. I really wish they were. So what is this one? It's function E. Function E gets our collision system. This looks like it tells us how many entities are sitting on top of it, so I believe some of the pressure plates actually are sensitive to the more entities they step on them, the higher the redstone they do put out. We're probably going to do something similar to this, just because we need to detect stuff, but we're going to mainly kind of just do our own little thing here, because no matter how you look at it, they are going to be using axis bounding blocks to figure out what's standing on top of them. So what we could do is just check every single tick what's above us. I rather avoid that for the reason of it's a little laggy. It's the same reason why solar panels suck so much, is that they check every single tick if something's above them. We could check every couple ticks because if something's too fast, there's no point checking it. But I think we could do a collision check. But I want to try on entity walking check. It will be called each and every tick. But what we can do is we can do some kind of Boolean delay in here. We are going to need to do a few things here. One, namely, we're going to need to wrapper this. Now, the energy wrapper code still doesn't give us RF support, so this is going to be a UE tile for the moment. We'll get to that later, putting RF support. Speaking of RF support, the ICBM Classic launchers do have RF support on them now for the actual frame. So I noticed a couple people were complaining that you couldn't power the launchers. And I started looking at their screenshots. I'm like, you're trying to connect wires to the frame. I'm like, I gotta fix this. So originally the frames didn't do power support. You had to power the controller directly, and I went ahead and adjusted that because then that was a little bit easiest way to deal with things. So for this, we've got our tile wrapper. We're gonna want to rename this to tile wrapper plate gen, That way we got our name going on here. And then we're going to want to make our content ID object. So grab this, make a new package called generator. Still not sure if I'm going to leave this in this thing here, but might as well go ahead and copy the battery. So this will be, actually it's gen. Actually we'll just call it plate. Not be complicated about it. For rendering, we don't really need much, so we're going to get rid of that. I need to make sure I put another bracket there. Get rid of this. We're probably going to make the plate do whatever here. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do it. Just actually, I need to make sure I rename this correctly. As I said, haven't slept yet today, so my brain is slower than normal. We'll go ahead and rename that. That's the same. We're going to call this plate generator is what the name is going to be. We'll do that both for the name, registry, and then for the tile is going to be different though. The reason behind naming the tile differently is, as I've noted before, the tile registry is not properly set up to prefix correctly. It's best just to do something like that. It'll fix it for us. Try not to overcomplicate things is what I'm trying to say. So put that there. And then we want to grab this part, toss that out here. That's good, that's good. Yeah, material's good. We will maybe mess with the advanced JSON stuff. What I'm kind of thinking of is that we could make the tile radiate a little bit. Nah, let's not overcomplicate things right now, because in order to get the animation to run properly, I may have to retick the tile repeatedly, which would not be a good idea. Right now, I kind of want to keep this as simplistic as possible. Really quickly before I forget, I'm gonna have to set the collision box. Block properties, I think, is where this is set at. Yeah, block property data. We don't need to actually instantiate a method here. I just need to go find the name of this stuff here. So I need to make sure we set the render bounds, block bounds, and selection bounds all to be the same. So it's block bounds, and it is a cube, so it's going to be a min-max system. Hopefully I remember how this actually looks like, or we're going to crash probably on start. So block bounds, and this should be min, and this should be something like x. Now, these should all still be 0, so to be honest, I think I can actually ignore them and put it'll work. But we do need to put a maximum value in here. I might as well go ahead and just set them both at the same time. So the max value is, this is going to be 1, this is going to be a 1, and this is going to be like a 0.2. And what we need to do, we actually do need to bring these in just a little bit so you can actually tell that they are in existence. And apparently you can't have just a flat decimal point here. That'll be 0.1. So that'll give us a 2 pixel gap between each plate. Give you a kind of a little bit of indication that they do exist there. I have a feeling I'm going to want to make sure I do the bounds for all 3, even though I think by default it does base everything off of the same thing. And yeah, we messed something up here. Yeah, we're missing a bracket. There we go. Well, that didn't fix something correctly. I think maybe that spot's where we're messed up at. There we go. So we need to get selection bound and render bound. So if we go back to here, there's selection bounds. As I said, I don't think this is required, but as I said, always I don't have proper notes on my system, so we're going to play it safe and we're just putting these all in here. Plus, this gives us the option if we want to come back through here later and change this data, we could. Although a bit tedious if it is required, so I'll more than likely fix that. Let's go ahead and fix the texture name here. So this is going to be plate gen is what we'll call the texture. It is a block texture. Path is good. So yeah, there's nothing wrong here. That needs to be renamed. So this is going to be plate generator. And then for the plate, what I think I'm going to do is just grab a texture I've already got, probably in Volts Engine, and then just change it all slightly. I don't need a lot here, after all, I'm just kind of making this for in the name of science moment. I'm not making this as an actual legit piece of content, but I will kind of turn it into a legit piece of content over time, but the point is I'm just doing it because it seems like a cool concept. Diamond plate's probably the best option, unfortunately. I need to get a better selection of textures to work with. I might just spend a day just kind of working on textures. So what we named it, it is PlateGen. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and edit this. What I mainly need to do is just kind of make it not look like it's the battery pack. Is the big issue here. I just noticed I'm using the paintbrush instead of the pencil, but surprisingly it's giving me a nice effect here. It's getting a little bit of distortion here, which is kind of interesting. I think I'm going to keep the edging here just in case I do decide to come back through here and do slight animation. Just realized I made that a little too high up on each corner there. So let's go ahead and fill the center in here. Yeah, let's get the pencil out because we'll get a little better result here. Get that side fixed up there. Fix that pixel which is out of order. And let's maybe lighten this middle section up a little bit so it doesn't look like it's identical to the rest of it. That way it's got that little bit of a pressure plate look and feel to it. And then I'll probably just colorize the outer edge green or something here later so it looks like it's yeah, and then because it's only 2 pixels tall, we'll get that border edge, that 2 pixel tall border edge on the outside, although I may make a separate texture for the sides and bottom later. But that will do the trick for the moment. And then I'll probably work on it some more later. But this should load. So we can get rid of this piece now. And now we just need to detect if the entity is above us. And it should work. Yeah, I mean, it'll work. Also, I'm going to make a couple methods for this too. Protected void output power is one method we're going to do. And we'll just put this here, output power. And the next one will be protected void do step or check for step. Yeah, we'll do that as well. And we'll put these here. And we'll make sure these both run on server only, so is server. And there we go. So we can do our power code here. Our power code is going to be pretty straightforward. It'll be this identical to this code here. I'm just going to actually, you know what? I have a better idea. We only need this section here. I'm only going to output power on the bottom because you're not going to connect wires to the side of this machine. You're going to do it on bottom only. So we want to get the tile entity below us. And actually, I'm not going to use a pause for this because it's a little waste of time. But we're going to go world.getTileID xi, yi -1, zi minus. And hopefully that train that's outside isn't coming through my microphone. That thing's loud. I believe this will be forge direction dot up. That's what this will be. And then we don't have an infinite ability, and we don't have a loop. So we only want this stuff here. And we're just going to do true. And then we don't need to run a secondary on here, so what we need to do is just run a remove check. Actually, you know what? We do actually need to run this twice. The reason why you want to run this twice is that it will prevent issues, so it'll prevent rounding up and down issues. So what you do is you're going to fill the energy into the system. You're then going to get the removed value of what you're going to remove from your system. Then you're actually going to remove it from your battery bank. Then you're going to round that, and then you can fix the rounding error by calling fill again. So say, for example, you got an extra joule of energy, or you lost a joule of energy somewhere in this process. One of the tiles doesn't get extra energy that didn't exist. It'll only get energy that actually does exist running this. So that should work. So we should output energy on our bottom here. And then we want to do our step check. So we want to make sure we have a boolean here. Was stepped on equals false. And then gotta figure out how we're going to check if we're going to be stepped on. So the easiest way to do this would be to get a collision box value. So we're going to make another thing here. So axis align BB step bounds. So it's a boundary box that we're actually going to check to see if something's above us. And we're going to catch that too, by the way. So we're going to go if step bounds equals null. Step bounds equals, I guess we can just do this the old way. So axis line BB dot get bounds. I was thinking I could do this the easy way, which was grabbing a cube, running two pause a couple times, and then doing that. But it's not very helpful for you guys who are trying to learn how to program. Yeah, we'll just check if something's within a 1 cube. So now we want to go list entity. We'll just do list, and this will be world.get entities with access line. We want entity.class. I wanted entity.class, not tile entity. I hate when IntelliJ is like, oh, I don't know what class you're talking about. And it's like, here, I'm going to import what I think you want. Okay, so we want step bounds, and we don't really care about any filtration. We could make a filter for this. Which it'll do is go is applicable, but we're just going to run it in that applicable check ourselves real quick. So we're going to go boolean something above equals false, and then we're going to loop through this for entity list. We're going to go, okay, if entity doesn't equal null, because you can get a weird system where entities are actually there, but they're not there. You want to make sure it's alive, and then you go is on ground is the last check. Is there not a ground check? I know there's a ground check on I guess we can go is collided vertically. Huh. There's a couple things oh yeah, here we go. And on ground, that's what I want. So I don't want an entity that's flying, I want an entity that's on the ground. So theoretically if it's on ground and it's right there, it's probably good. So equals true. And then we're gonna get a count of entities, I guess. int count equals 0. We're not gonna do anything with the count right now. I just kind of want to keep track of it. Because what we could do is go, okay, if there's like a lot of entities above you and you weren't stepped on the previous tick, generate like 3 watts of power versus 1 watt of power. So what I'm gonna go is go pretty much want to make sure that we want to go if wasn't stepped on, then we want to generate power. So I'm going to go get energy buffer forge direction dot unknown and add energy to storage. Literally, we're going to probably do, we'll make a variable for this at the top. Public static and power gen. We're going to set to 10 right now because, well, everything we have eats a lot of power. And we'll do true here. And then what we could also say here is, for example, if I wanted to, I'm going to go with count. Actually, we're not going to work with the count right now. But we are going to do this. We're going to go what stepped on equals something above. So this means there has to be at least 1 tick delay between stepping before the plate works. And that's pretty much it. This is straightforward. There's not a lot of work here to really do. We will toy with this in the future, but right now, really simplistic. All we care about is if it's alive and it's on the ground, so dead entities don't count. Generates power. Yeah. That'll work. Let's go ahead and launch it and see if the game crashes or not. Hopefully this works on first run because, well, I badly need sleep and I don't know if I'm even going to get sleep today. Yeah, it's unfortunately, this is how this pretty much works out for me, is that I'll go solid a couple weeks with a proper sleep schedule, and then I'll break my sleep schedule, and then it takes me like 3 weeks to get back on said sleep schedule, and then I'll break it again. And I'm trying to fix that problem. I actually went and uninstalled Imgur off my phone to try to fix that problem, and then I found myself sitting on Twitter all night. Yeah, I need to just like, I need to make an app for my phone that will lock my phone for 5 to 6 hours to prevent me from using it. And by locking it, I mean it won't let me launch any entertainment apps. It'll still let me check my email and take phone calls and text and stuff because surprisingly, even though that you would think that would be distracting, I don't do any of that stuff. Well, I check my email, of course, but I don't get emails usually at night. They all hit me pretty much, I'll start getting emails probably here around 9 o'clock, and then they won't stop till about noon. That's when all the automated systems for email deliveries usually run. Anyways, we broke something. Failed to find class. Well, we screwed up our class here. Did it make our wrapper? No, it's right there, so we didn't screw that up. We just probably screwed up typing it in. So got that part. Grab that part. That looks good. What gives? Honestly confused. Because it's there, it generated. But it's like, hey, I couldn't find it. But it's right there. I'm just gonna launch again and maybe it was a fluke. I mean, we are working with an automatic code generation system. So the likelihood of it breaking on me randomly is good actually, because of the fact that code generation, if not done correctly, tends to do that. Because you're relying on an automated system to do something for you, and I've only built a couple compilers, and essentially the code generator I got is a compiler, is what it is, because it's not doing anything. Because I would call it an annotation processor, is that it's technically processing annotations, but it's not a proper Java annotation processor, because when you're supposed to do those, you're supposed to actually create a program that then you run with Java, that then Java calls stuff on, and then it generates classes for you. But instead of doing that, I got a text file processor that loads up a text file, reads the text file, finds the annotation in the text file, then does all the nice work on the stuff. And it does that all via text processing, and I used my understanding of how the Java compiler works to do that, although I'm nowhere close to how the Java compiler works, but I did make it function. The reason I say I'm not close to how the compiler works is that it uses a lot more regex than I use. It actually uses a lot of fun techniques that I just did not implement at all. I probably should. Probably should go through and actually spend a lot of times doing creating a syntax processor, because that's what Java does, is it processes syntax. And what I mean by that is that it'll go through and it'll go, okay, I see public, I see void, I see some method name, I see parameters, and it'll break them all down and it'll put them all into their little brackets and it'll figure out what they are. And it'll go through this whole thing and it'll go, okay, this is now a method block. And it'll go, I understand what that is now. It'll go, okay, this is an annotation. And it'll slowly piece them together until it gets a data structure of what it recognizes as a method. And then it'll turn that into bytecode. Because it doesn't give any craps of how this stuff looks like. It doesn't care what this stuff is named. It's designed to process syntax. And it understands a very particular syntax. A good way to point this out, by the way, is that it literally looks at something like this. And it'll go like, it understands this method hierarchy type system. So it understands that format, A, B, C, stuff. And it doesn't care what stuff is called. It just understands that A should be public, private, or protected. It understands that this should be some kind of data structure. So it should be void, or should be end, or should be some kind of return. It understands C should be some kind of name that meets a certain system, and it should understand that between each of these should be stuff. We launched this time, so I'm going to assume that was a fluke. I might explain syntax better in another video. I don't fully understand it myself. I understand kind of how it works. And also, by the way, this is proof that the launcher does do its thing. Although energy doesn't seem to be saving properly, I noticed that, so I might have to fix that. But it is broadcasting energy from this to the multi-block. The multi-block then gives it to the launcher base piece right there, and then it gives it to the controller. But anyways, it's not what we're here to test. We are here to test our pressure plate. So what I should be able to do is I should be able to get this cube. Actually, let's put it over here so I can see it better. And every time I step on that, I should get something. I'm going to stand above it right now and go ahead and check this code. So we want to know if something's above. I should be the only thing above it right now. I am above it. Cool. Cool. So we're going to put a break line here so I can actually know when that happens. Ooh. I triggered that even though I shouldn't have. This does mean this does have power, so why we're not getting power, I'm not quite sure. Actually, I know exactly why we're not getting power. The battery box is not programmed to receive power at the moment. Let's fix that. So in order to fix how this functions, by the way, is we've got to fix the energy rep. The energy rep, see, if I hit Control B on this, I'm not going to get anything useful, so we're not going to be able to find the energy rep in here because it's a text-based processor. So we have to go find the template. Now the template is stored in the core because it actually is part of Volt's engine, and it should be Minecraft code generator, and then we should have templates. By the way, here's where all the annotations are for that stuff. I am going to be doing away with the annotations because if on the item wrap system, we went to wrapper on here, and then the tiles are going to do the same exact thing because I don't want to make an annotation per system, especially when the text processors don't even give a crap that you were using annotations. All they want is their data. So we'll have tiles here. Here's a tile template. Now our tile template right now only has the buffer on here, and all we have to do to fix that is go iEnergy handler, implement the methods, and there we go. We also want to implement iTile connector. Actually, we're not going to implement iTile. The reason I won't implement iTile connector is the system does not support duplicate methods properly. So that means if I put iTile connector on here, it will not overlap properly if I put iTile connector on the fluid system. So the fluid system is supposed to have iTile connector on it as well to work, and it doesn't. So this means I do have a bit of work to do to fix this properly. But ignoring that because that's not important. We need to work on this piece here. And I'm going to go and find some code here in a second, is what I need. My brain's just trying to catch up here, unfortunately. I need tile modular machine is what I want. So tile modular machine should have energy code built into it for RF. It's been in here for I don't know how long we've had this code in here. And same with IC2. So people are like, hey, you don't have IC2 support in V. We actually do. I can give IC2 machines power. IC2 machines cannot give my tiles power. It's only one way support right now. I always put all the add override stuff back in there. One thing I'm concerned about with this code I'm writing real quick is that this part right here, that from here was originally from that get opposite. And the way my code works is I'm assuming that whatever I'm calling wants to know the face it's receiving energy from, and I think the RF tiles are the opposite way, and I have not checked yet, and it is actually a pretty big problem I need to fix. Actually, what we do is this with its node instance of that. I'm going to get node. So we are going to still do the can connect functionality, by the way. It's just this tile itself won't have the can connect information on it, which is not too big of an issue because the can connect is internal. It's for volts engine stuff. And we are missing this piece here. Buffer. Shoot, I just got to copy this whole part here. Get max buffer size. So get buffer should be pulled from the node, and then all of this stuff should wrapper into the node properly. And then hopefully this code is set up correctly. This is the biggest thing, is a lot of this hasn't been tested. Even though we have RF support, we have IC2 support, I have JUnit test for the RF support. A lot of it hasn't been tested against the real thing. So I haven't popped in thermal expansion. I haven't sat there and just made sure everything functions correctly. Theoretically, this is good. So this pulls from a UE value and gives it back, and this code should run properly. A lot of this is based on the old UE4 code, so the old UE4 code actually did do RF support perfectly. IC2 support was a little flaky because the IC2 API is a piece of junk. And I mean that in the nicest way possible because it's written for what it needs to do, but the IC2 API is not compatible with RF and UE. It's really not. It's also not error friendly, so you can't use the IC2 API and go, I gave you 100 joules of energy. Did you get the 100 joules of energy? You can't check that. It's like you just have to guess that it got the 100 joules of energy, because it's a one-way method call. Where a lot of the UE and RF stuff is two-way. So to go, okay, you gave me 100 joules of energy, but I only took 80 joules of energy. So don't be surprised when you're using IC2 stuff with my stuff and you just energy disappears. It's because IC2 is a piece of shit. This is good. Yeah, this does need recoded a little bit. Needs to be a return false down here. This is not tested code, is a good way to put it. This should work though. So I should be able to hit run, I should hit debug client. Another thing I could probably do is put add optional up here. And I can put IC2 support into this tile. I have to go test that, and I don't have enough brain power to do that right now because stuff is not exactly tested well. Eventually we'll get IC2 support because, I mean, after all, people do love to use that mod. People love to use GregTech. I do admit IC2 is a nice mod. It's still one of my more preferred tech mods to play with. Right now, how the order goes, I like to use Mechanism, then Thermal Expansion, then IC2. And Buildcraft goes after that somewhere. Immersive Engineering, by the way, is higher up on that list somewhere, but I don't consider Immersive Engineering a full-on tech mod by itself, even though it has the content. Same with Engineering's Toolbox. Engineering Toolbox actually particularly is a really cool mod, but it is not a standalone mod in my opinion. I don't really know any other mods past that, actually, I'm thinking about it. I mean, you have Ender.io. It's down there below IC2 because of how buggy it can be at times. I do enjoy its cables. Its cables are amazing. And then you get Applied Energistics. That's also not what I consider a standalone mod. Although I love its storage system, although it's really server intensive. And then you get Logistics Pipes, which is really client intensive, but isn't really server intensive. Actually, speaking of Logistics Pipe, it's actually really well coded. I was built some patches for it a few months back, or at least I tried to, and I could never get them to work. Always had some issues with trying to patch his mod, but man, that code has got some really cool features built into it that are not accessible by users. Anyways, we wait for this to launch, and then we toy around with our pressure plate here, and then hopefully it works. And then if the battery works, that means we can probably distribute battery energy, although it's going to be a little infinite loop happy. And when I mean infinite loop happy, it won't infinite loop in the code, it'll loop in the world, sending energy back and forth between the cubes. And you'll get this weird flow effect. We had issues like this when we were working on UE power cables. The very alpha version of them worked like Buildcraft pipes. Anyways, there should be energy in this thing. Nope. Okay, so what I probably want to do real quick is make sure that the template got the new code. I do see RF coding here. I do see the interfaces properly. So we're not missing that stuff. So that looks good. That does mean I should get RF code here. So let's go ahead and grab this method here. Okay. I got the battery. It's not a handler. I don't understand this. Handlers contains key. Handler.class contains class. No. IC2 handler is not going to do anything. Okay, so we have RF energy handler. What? I don't understand why that didn't work. I'm gonna put a line back there again and figure out what's up here. Okay, so that's the IC2 code. Okay, so what we're looking at is a tile entity wrapper for the tile node. And if we go grab the tile node, it is an iEnergy handler. It does have the code. And then I should get a check for a yes on this spot. I don't understand what's up with this. So the thing is, the RF handler, the do check, I'm sitting here looking at it right now and it looks perfectly fine. So what in here is not working properly? That's what's not working properly. Something's seriously wrong with our code generators. Okay, so edit configuration plus. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a build call right here. Actually, we're going to remove this one. So we're going to run all of our configurations, then run build. We need to run build twice. So we need to run build project, and that needs to run. And then need to run these guys, build. Actually needs to go up here. Put that there. So we run all of our code generators after building the whole project, which then will build the next thing, and that should fix it. Because I think what's happening is the code generators are building, and then it's not rebuilding again, and something's going wrong. The reason I probably haven't noticed this happen before is because usually I'm rebuilding the project as I'm working, and it's rare that I am changing the code for the code generator, because the code generator is one of those things that just runs, and you don't have to play with it anymore. You run it maybe once after every so often, and it just does its job. I'm running it each and every time I go to launch the game because I want to make sure it runs correctly, and I'm getting clean code every single time I run. Because even though it may not look like this code changes at all, this is being rebuilt every single time we launch the game. It's just the fact is the code generator spits out the same exact file every single time. That's the reason we haven't noticed any difference. Although I do need to work on cleaning up imports and stuff in this, and yeah. A lot of work that still needs to be done with the code generators. I got to get it out into being a stable product because I actually do want to start distributing the code generator as a standalone application that anybody can download and use for Java stuff. And the plan is to use it on my game I'm working on too to fast generate files and do other things with. What I need to do is I actually need to make a plugin for IntelliJ for it. It's actually a plugin I need to install too, now I'm thinking about it. Some guy works on a Minecraft plugin that lets you do MBT editing and various other things. I could actually use an MBT editor, although I've been moving to JSON for a lot of my stuff. Anything settings-wise I want to use JSON on. But anything Minecraft save-wise, the MBT save system is better because it's compressed. Anyways, this should be launched in a second or two. Well, this IC2 doesn't take forever to stitch textures. I hope IC2 fixed its problems in newer versions of Minecraft. I have a feeling that it just probably got worse. As I've heard, there's even new people working on it again, which every time that mod changes hands, it gets unstable for a while. The reason I know this is I've watched the mod develop since IC1, back in alpha Minecraft days. Back when the only two real mods you could download were IC2 and BuiltCraft. And then Red Power came along once upon a time. I miss that mod. I really do. Oh, those were the days back in 1.25 Minecraft when red power was a thing. Okay, we're getting things here. Let's do that. Okay. Yeah, it's fixed now. Okay, so that was the issue, is just we didn't have the fresh code. Okay. Even though it's identifying as a power system now, throwing exception. Buffer. Oh, that would explain a bit. That'll fix it. The reason this didn't crash the game, by the way, is every node is built behind a crash detection system. You notice how the power's changing? The thing here is getting power. And because I haven't coded a buffer for this, it'll continuously have that problem. But it does prove that it is working. So what we're going to do is I'm going to build a floor real quick of these. And we're going to build that exact thing I saw in the tweet, except instead of having an empty floor, we're going to have a pressure plate floor. You know, this actually doesn't look too horrible of a floor. Oh, I need to do opaque setting. You notice how it just got really dark here? That's because I'm missing the is opaque check out of the JSON file. Okay. Now, we want to do... We're probably just going to do one zombie real quick. But I need to do some carts. Let's get some military base decor in here too, so I can show off Henneman's work. He's been doing a decent job on this mod. Orange is my favorite color, so we're going to do that. Now, I want to make sure this is actually far enough away from the pressure plates that I can put a fence here so my villager won't get murdered, because I'm not building this quite big enough. I'll probably build a bigger version here later to test the viability of this. I am confused why there is so much power in that right now. It's probably going to throw our test off, so this will be an inconclusive test, but it'll do the trick, so don't worry about it. Can you do corners for these guys? You know what, I need to make a mod for that. That'd be something real easy to do a corner rail. Oh, you can... I always forget that Minecraft has slanted rails. It just kind of blows my mind sometimes that I forgot about that. Tells you how little I actually play the game from time to time. Although I do have a rail system on the server I was playing on here a couple weeks ago. I've been told the rail system stopped functioning after I got off. Go figure, I don't show up a couple times and everything I was working on just broke. Probably how it feels like to be like Bevo or something. Okay, yeah, we're gonna want to fill this in, and then we're gonna want to put some fences up. I think I could just use some basic fences, maybe? I probably should think this through a little bit more, but we're gonna find out. Let me pause it real quick so it'll do the save. Let's not risk it, we're gonna actually just use vanilla fences. I know a vanilla fence will do the trick. Why is it... I guess it considers that a solid block. I'll fix that later. Oh, that kind of adds to the wicked look of it, but science. I feel retarded. Time set night. I've got some glowstone blocks here. I just grab some Tinker's torches, that'll work. Torch. One of the many things I need to work on here as well is one of my buddies keeps poking at me to do a torch that prevents mobs from spawning. I know there's a mod that already does it, but he wants a mod that just only has that in it, so in a single blocks mod. Anyway, zombies spawn eggs, and we should be good to go. Yeah, Isopig Shake is going to be necessary. So this will work. We want a villager, and then we're going to need a miner. Cool, I have an unpowered section track, that'll work. Cart. Not what I wanted. Oh, come on. How hard is it going to beat it? This is part of the plan I did not consider. That was going to be a problem. Okay, so we do this, and we do that. Put this here. And what I should be able to do is stick him here. Hopefully he doesn't get killed in like the 5 seconds it's going to take me to do this. Yes, that's what I wanted. Oh, he's going to get killed by the... They don't seem to be wandering around the track. Okay, so... let's get rid of the fence. I may have to make this bigger. Why aren't they, I actually don't understand this. They should be chasing him unless that was something they added to a newer version. Huh. That defeats the plan for this. Unless one of my AI scripts is broken. Probably one of my AI scripts is broken and screwing this up even more than normal. I could write an AI script to fix this without much of an issue. But unfortunately, don't have enough time for that today. So these theoretically are working. So if we actually check one of the batteries, we have some power in it. We'll probably have to do some more testing here later to see if these are functionally working. I may actually make these also emit light too when they're stepped on. Actually, did he just attack? Oh, so they're chasing now. I need to make it bigger. That's actually what I need to do. So the zombie or the villager is still within chase distance of the zombie, so the zombie isn't following it. Is what I think is what's going on. So what I'm going to want to do is make this a little bigger, and it might work. I might also need to just fix the pressure plates because it looks like they don't really, yeah, they're not pathing them correctly. So there's probably a collision box problem with these that the zombies aren't quite comprehending. Yeah, there's a few things to work on, but anyways, that'll be the end of the video here, and I'll see you guys later.